Jay, what do you attribute the swings to? And how much of it do you think has to do with coaching and Steve Kerr not being there, if any?
Well, game 4, I gave them credit because they found a way to win ugly.
Yep.
And everybody was talking about, well, Memphis is playing without Ja Morant. They're still in this game. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what? Finding a way to win ugly means something because championship teams with experience find a way to do that. But they did seem like they were lethargic. One of the things that's intriguing to me is about these rivalries that are occurring in our game, Stephen A. So I said this last year when I saw Ja Morant and Memphis bounce Golden State. I said, I was like, this is a rivalry. People said, well, it's not a rivalry for Stephen Curry. I'm like, yo, maybe not for Stephen Curry, but for Ja Morant, it's a rivalry. So last night on the bench, I see Ja Morant going 1, 2, 3. He's doing all the same things that Stephen Curry does when he's on the ground after he makes it and 1 3. Right? It means something to them. So for me last night, knowing that Steph said, whoop that trick, right? Which that's a whole other conversation that we can go into. I was like, oh, okay, it kind of feels a little bit, and I know Steph talks, but a little bit uncharacteristic for Steph in the way he's kind of publicly saying things now, talking trash in the way he's engaged with Memphis and Ja Morant. I still have trust and faith that they are going to be able to beat Memphis, even though I did pick Memphis to win. I still think Golden State is a better team with Ja Morant being out. But it does bring me to something that I think is an intriguing storyline that we have to get ourselves prepared for. If Phoenix Suns are able to win against Dallas and close it out, I think the world is about to see one of the best low-key rivalries in all of sports, and that is Stephen Curry against Chris Paul. Now, we're seeing a rivalry with how Steph reacts talking to Ja Morant. Let me give you some history between these two.
Please do.
So when Steph was coming into the league, Steph actually trained with CP3. CP3 took him to Disney World with his family. They trained the whole time. Steph saw him as a mentor. They then met in the 2014 playoffs, the Clippers and the Golden State Warriors. The Clippers won in 7. It came down to the wire. CP3 had 23 points.
Hit the winning shot.
Yeah, winning shot.
Right.
But Steph dropped 29 that game. He played really well. And it keeps going. Some of the most viral moments in Steph's career have been against CP3. Now, I know we look at CP3 as the all-American player right here. But like 4 or 5 years ago, man, CP3 wasn't really liked around the league by a lot of players now. CP3 used to do things. You go for a jump shot, he would hit you here in spots that were close to the family, all that kind of stuff, right? One of the best competitors in the game of basketball. If that does happen, I do wonder how this team that seems a little bit lethargic in how they handle rivalries will handle that rivalry for CP3 and Steph Curry.
Interesting point, but correction. In the past, you talk about CP3 being liked. Hell, he still isn't liked by a lot of players.
I'm just talking about media perspective, fans.
No, I'm talking players.
Yes.
But respected by all.
Yes. I agree with you on that. I agree with you on that.
And CP don't care because he's a pit bull. He's an ultra competitor. And when he's trying to beat you, he don't care about whether you like him or not. So I have no problem with it whatsoever. But I do think that Steph Curry's a problem for him. Steph Curry has proven to be a problem for him because CP3 is an elite of a defender as he can be. There's little you can do when a brother's pulling up from 30 or 40, which we've seen Steph do, particularly against CP3 in the past. I think the thing now that is plaguing the Golden State Warriors, and somebody needs to say it, so I'm going to say it, and I've said this before and I'll say it again. You know how much I believe in Klay Thompson. He got my vote for the All-75 team. He's a future Hall of Famer, first ballot without question. 3 championships, 5 straight NBA Finals. They couldn't have done all of that without him, even if they had Durant as far as I'm concerned. See, Klay Thompson is that special. But I do think that Klay Thompson is a bit sensitive in a good way. But the way it's affected him this year, there have been too many occasions where I see him launching shots he don't normally launch, missing up passing the way that he never did in the past, because as much of a marksman as he is, he'd make the right pass. I think this is a guy that no matter how much he has accomplished, he felt underappreciated and has been counted out, and rightfully so. Remember, the media cost this man about $30 million. He signed the max deal, but Kemba Walker was chosen as third-team All-NBA a few years back. It cost Klay Thompson. I don't blame Klay Thompson. He never speaks to the media again in life because it cost him $30 million. Because, damn it, he would have been in a position, had he made that team, he would have been in a position to get the Supermax, $220 million instead of $190 million. The media cost him $30. It wasn't me, but the media cost that man $30 million. If he got an attitude with the media for the rest of his career, I don't blame him one bit. The flip side is that since he's come back, there have been too many occasions where he seems to be focused on him and proven, not in a selfish way like I don't care about the team, is that he seems hell-bent on proving doubters wrong instead of just playing his game. When he plays his game, he has had spectacular games. But there's too many times where that has not been the case. And there's been a couple of games this series where he's been that guy, where he seems like he's just out there trying to prove what he can do instead of just being that consummate team
It's
player.
so hard coming off back-to-back injuries like that.
Exactly.
I'm talking mentality.
No, of course, but I'm saying that affects the mentality.
Here's the thing. If Memphis is able to get a win on the road, they have an advantage here, and they found something over the last 2 games. Steven Adams and Brandon Clark have been beating Golden State up inside. They had 18 offensive rebounds last night. And the physicality of Dylan Brooks on Stephen Curry, the way they play, that physicality, forcing turnovers. I mean, look, I still favor Golden State, but they're flirting with fire now. They're playing with fire in this one.
They are playing. Let me tell you this.
We have to go to break, but I still don't understand these extreme swings.
I will say this. They don't want to go back to Memphis for
No, they do not.
They got to win Game 6. They don't want to go back to Memphis in Game 6. And I love that kid, Brandon Clark. That's a special dude right there. I love his energy, his effort, the impact he has.
If they win on the road, does Ja Morant come back for Game 7?
I don't know.
And is it better for Memphis to have Ja Morant come back for Game 7?
I'm not a doctor. I would tell you
it
it's better
looks like
to
they
come
can
back.
get it done
In Memphis,
either way.
yes.
In Memphis, Game 7?
Yes. It would be better if he can do it.
If he can
But
do it.
I don't know. I'm not a doctor. I don't know what the situation is.
It is a
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.